Hi there. This one caught my eye when I was looking into a recipe for donuts made in cast iron. These aren't just donuts, they're Spudnuts. They're donuts with potatoes added for texture and flavor. Adding potatoes to the dough meant adding a lot of starch, and this gave a dough that was very easy to work with, as well as an end result that was quite delicious. Deep frying always takes a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, and it's something I definitely recommend you do with your kids, as long as you take good precautions, of course, and keep a close eye on them. The recipe for Spudnuts is one of several American food inventions from the 19th century, but this recipe became well known with the foundation of Spudnut Doughnuts in the 1940s. Spudnuts are one of those iconic foods that remind us of America in the boom period after World War II, along with baked Alaska, patty melts, and drive-in restaurants and movie theaters. The Spudnuts chain lasted into the 1970s, but unfortunately the corporate owner at this time became the victim of a huge real estate scam in California. This caused the parent company to go out of business, and the Spudnut franchises had to struggle to survive. Most of them went under, though at this time there are about 30 Spudnut shops still in operation in the United States. The secret ingredient in Spudnuts is, of course, potatoes, and we're using russet potatoes because they're the best for making mashed potatoes. We peel and boil our potatoes until they're soft.
Oh yeah, this is definitely done.
We remove the potatoes and let them cool off. What's more, this recipe has a great idea to reserve about a quarter cup of the potato water. We mash the potatoes and we don't have to add salt or butter. Now we add the potato water to a large bowl and let it cool until it's warm. We're adding yeast to the potato water and blooming the yeast in it, so we don't want it to be hot enough to kill the yeast. Yeah, I like this recipe because it had an interesting idea. Reserve some of the potato water and bloom the yeast in that. You figure all that starch.
Oh yeah.
Now we add the potatoes back in with the yeast, and then we add our donut ingredients. This is a quarter cup of sugar, a half teaspoon of salt, a quarter cup of vegetable oil, and about 3/4 of a cup of warm milk. Just like we don't want the potato water to be too hot, we also don't want the milk to be too cold.
Now that he's done with the treats, he's back to crawling up my leg.
Stir in 2 beaten eggs, and then we add our flour. It's possible to make this recipe using potato flour, and then we don't have to use mashed potatoes at all. However, this is based on the original Spudnuts franchise recipe, and since potato flour is much more expensive than regular flour, it's likely the original Spudnuts were made in this way. If it seems too dry, add more milk, a little at a time. It'll look like it's too wet, but that's exactly how we want it.
Now it's starting to look like a wet dough. That's what this is more like what I wanted.
And now we cover it and let it rise for an hour.
Well, it certainly has risen.
All we have to do is fold it over a few times, then we cover it again for another half hour. And now it's time to break out the cast iron and begin heating the oil for frying. This is a big cast iron pan, so we have to use a lot of oil here. If you're using a smaller pan, and you probably are, you don't need to use that much oil. We cover 2 trays with parchment paper and use olive oil as an adhesive. This will be for the donuts both before and after frying. Now we coat our workspace with flour and spread out the dough. We used the no-knead method to rise the dough, and it worked very well here.
This isn't so hard. It's actually a very easy dough. Barely rolling it at all.
And now comes the fun part. We cut out as many donuts as possible. I was able to get almost 24 donuts from this, and there was still a lot of dough left over. The size of your donut cutter isn't really important because the bigger circle you cut, the bigger the donut. Lay the donuts out on the parchment paper and we're ready. Now it's time to start frying. One nice thing about using a big cast iron pan is there's a lot of surface space for frying. A regular size pan will let you fry 4 or 5 donuts, but here we were able to fry a dozen donuts at a time, and there was still plenty of room.
Look at these things pop up. Man, there's so much room here. Okay. You practically do this whole batch at one time. Well, take a look. Ooh, there's plenty of room in this thing.
Yeah, but how's the temperature? Oh, flip them, flip.
Yeah, you're right.
Flip. Flip. I flip them. By the time you get done flipping them,
They'll
you're
be
going to take
done.
them right out.
Yeah, just about.
Yep.
Nope, not yet.
Well, this one is.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see it.
Yep. That one right there. This one right here. I didn't even see those are fine. You can just a little bit of lighter color. Those ones are good.
Oops.
It's okay.
That's alright.
No, it's okay if they're still a bit lighter. That one's done.
These ones here are just about done.
Those are done. So I pull them.
Alright. Yeah, I really like how this batter turned out. It turned out a lot easier than I expected. Thank you so much.
Not a problem.
Okay.
Now you're just showing off.
Yes, you are. Okay, that's enough. Seriously, that's enough.
Yeah, that's all I'm doing right there.
Okay. You act as though you've made donuts before.
I've never made donuts before. I really haven't. I honestly haven't. You're good at it though, huh? Now you're just showing off, JB.
And all that's left to do is prepare a glaze for the donuts. This is nothing more than mixing in a little milk with a lot of powdered sugar, plus a touch of vanilla extract. Mix in the milk just a little bit at a time until the glaze reaches the right consistency. And now it's time to glaze the Spudnuts. We give the donuts a generous coating of the glaze, and our Spudnuts are ready to serve while they're still warm.
Homemade donuts are definitely something you really want to try yourself. And if you're going to do it, you might as well make this classic recipe for Spudnuts. No, you don't taste potatoes at all in this donut. What you do get are something yummy, and Spudnuts are definitely worth remembering and definitely worth eating. Thank you for watching.